Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today let's take a look at an Atlanta game sent in by Raptor 95662. Yeah, let's just call him Raptor because that's the long name. And I'm not sure I can remember those numbers again. But anyhow, okay, so Raptor's playing Atlanta on Estuary along with his division mate who's also in Atlanta. Okay, and at the start of the game, very reasonably, the two Atlantas are going to be heading towards this island and this island. So they're very reasonable, get behind some island cover so you can bring that DPM to bear. Typically speaking, in the early game, what you're going to be doing is deciding whether or not your flank is going to be a push flank or a hold flank. So take a look at sort of the distribution of your forces versus the enemy. So in this case, Raptor's other flank is not a very, very strong flank. Badioni, Congo, Katovsky, and a T-22. And they're up against a CV, because you can already see a CVs over there. But there's an Omaha, a Shores, a New York, a Bayern looks like it's heading in that direction as well, along with an Ochotnik. So that other side, if I was there, I would be, I'd be a little alarmed, because I would say, look, we've got only essentially these 4 ships plus the Ranger, and the Ranger is already making a beeline for the A line, so usually not a good thing because you don't want your CV to be running away. The further the distance the CV pulls, the longer it takes to cycle aircraft, so that's usually not a good sign if your CV is going, way the other way. And then of course you take a look at that sort of distribution of forces. A Congo is going to be weak against the Bayern, plus there's a New York there. A Shores is a lot better DPM potential than a Badioni does. So yeah, I'd be a little bit wary to push that. I would probably be a lot more defensive. As a Congo, I'd probably try to kite into that kind of position. As a Badioni, I'd probably be doing the same thing, kind of, like over here, just getting all of my guns. I'd be stationary, but all my guns within range to shoot at stuff. But I definitely wouldn't be pushing on that flank. On the other hand, because I know that the enemy team essentially has, half 50% of their ships on the other side, and I'm looking at this fleet on this side, seeing 3 battleships, right? 2 Atlantas, a Mikoyan, so that is 6 ships here. I would be a little bit more aggressive on this particular flank if I was the BBs, because there's 2 very, very high DPM ships that can do a lot. So if I was Raptor's battleships on this flank, I would be playing a little bit more aggressively, utilizing that high DPM, to my advantage. Enemy Kirov already screws up. As a Kirov, you never come into this kind of a position. One, because A, there's an island over here blocking your possible exit, right? As a Kirov, I would be having gone to the back of that island and waited to see if I can get vision, but not the world's smartest Kirov. Came into a very awkward area and is basically going to just turn himself and get himself stuck on the island. Basically, the minute he gets spotted again, that Kirov probably is going to die. Now, again, the 2 Atlantas are in good positions, but they do need vision, obviously. Atlantas don't usually provide vision for themselves. They tend to be behind islands a lot in a lot of situations, so they do require some degree of support. Okay, the other flank is getting a lot worse. They're down to a Badioni and a Congo, so honestly, if I was over there as a Badioni, I would probably have been, like, just running for it right now. Definitely would not be turning in and trying to push that flank, but those 2 ships are still going, so that already tells you, if you are on this flank, that you need to be aggressive. You need to start pushing. Yeah. I better be careful what I draw sometimes. I would be trying to get my BBs here to really start pushing, because you can tell that the other flank has basically already failed. And as soon as that flank fully fails, the enemy team is just going to start streaming towards the middle into the B cap, and you're going to be in a cap disadvantage position. Not good. Okay. The decap here, yeah, I mean, honestly, with Ganaiza and Sinop, both of them being as durable and tough as they are, with backup from Atlanta, like, I would, no joke, I would have been a lot more aggressive. I mean, the Sinop would be trying to push in really aggressive here. Ganai probably could have turned in a while ago, now put himself into that kind of centralized position there to make a push whenever the opportunity presents itself. Enemy Ganai also comes in a very awkward position, like, why would you come in here? Doesn't really make too much sense. I mean, either you just YOLO straight through and try to take the B cap for your team. Coming this way makes no sense. Basically running into an Atlanta. One thing to point out that Raptor is doing here, he requires a little bit more movement to try to get all of his guns into the fight. There we go. Now he's moved enough. He's just needed to turn his ship a little bit more to get all the guns into the fight, because Atlanta has massive DPM, but if you don't angle yourself properly, you can only bring like half your guns into the fight. You really want to position properly to get all the firepower in, because that monstrous DPM has to be used if you want to be effective. Okay, so this Ganai is having a pretty bad day already because he's getting spammed by 2 Atlantas, both of them behind hard cover. Not fun. And Atlanta, as you can see, can utilize even, like, get shots even over this chunk of island. Whoops. Sorry for that. That chunk of island, Atlanta can get shots over that because why? Very, very lofty arcs. Okay. Of course, by here, you know, with the lead required, a couple of the turrets are going to hit the island. So smart thing is to back up and to get the other guns into the fight there. Okay, Mikoyan has successfully torpedoed the Ganai. That was a bit of a suicidal rush by the Mikoyan, but it's a Mikoyan, so probably trying its best to get some kind of damage done. So that's at least worth it. I mean, it's a tier 5 cruiser for a tier 7 BB. It's kind of a worthwhile trade here. Piotr is in a really crappy position. As a Piotr, it's understandable to try to angle yourself and try to position yourself in a way that, you know, you can angle and be safe but everything. But against 2 Atlantas, probably not a good idea. Okay. The division mate is trying to make a move for the cap right now. Alright, so I can understand that. I think it's maybe a little bit early. Could have maybe stayed behind a touch bit for the Piotr. You know, you're getting vision from something else anyways. I think notably in this case, the Ganai is probably providing vision onto the Piotr. So as an Atlanta, you probably could get onto the cap a little bit later. But again, you know, with the way the points are, I can understand the need to rush on. The reason why I'm saying the Atlanta might have been better to just kind of hold back and save your DPMs, because, you know, you have a Ganai that is probably going to be able to get onto the cap anyways, so save that DPM for now, maybe. You know, because if you come out here, it's a little risky, right? If that Piotr, realizing he's in trouble, he's going to die anyways, decided to just screw it, push in, and just bring his guns to bear onto the Atlanta, I mean, that could be a dead Atlanta, and Atlanta's a relatively fragile ship, so if I was the Atlanta, I might not have done that. Okay. So Atlanta is on the cap right now. At least trying to cap, I think. Oh no, off the cap now. Okay, see that decision, I wasn't really sure. I mean, if you're gonna go for the cap, right? And in this case, after the Piotr dies, kind of come down this way, utilize this island to block the vision of the Ganai and the Dallas so they don't see you, and then just go in and actually get that cap taken care of quickly. Okay, so enemy Ganais are now behind this island. So you can see the position of Raptor is actually quite good here. He's utilizing this island to block the vision of those 2 enemy ships so they can't see him, while he's able to land quite a lot of shells, because you can see Atlanta's arcs are quite nice. Very floaty, able to get over the island, able to hit stuff from behind here. Alright, so this is to be expected. I'm guessing Raptor's probably going to try to close the distance here. But this is the part where I'm thinking there's a little bit of maybe a touch bit of a misplay here. Raptor is trying to close the distance in to this Ganai. Okay, he's trying to close in, but he's only bringing just the forward guns onto the fight here. I think this might have been a situation where you could have tried to position yourself in a more aggressive way. If I was playing the Atlanta, I might have played it a little bit more aggressively, try to get all guns into the fight here. There we go. Get all guns in. Fully broadside Ganai. This is also another opportunity to actually switch into armor piercing and let the AP target the superstructure here and go to town. A lot faster damage possibly in a situation like that, because the distance is actually relatively close. I think I might have switched over to AP for the superstructure at this point in time. HE a little bit over reliant on time, I think, for Raptor. But still, I mean, it's still Atlanta. The DPM is absolutely monstrous. So the Ganaisanel is still going to go down here. Alright. Radar's been popped. I think primarily to get vision on the Dallas here. I mean, okay. I'm guessing Raptor here is trying to turn his ship this way. Right? He's trying to turn his ship this way. Because he's probably expecting that this Bayern looks like he's coming this way. And the enemy team is going to come this way. So I think he's trying to go this way because he's realizing he's going to eventually have to go deal with them by trying to engage them this way. I think that makes sense. Here is the other thing. Dallas came out broadside. I think this is probably a better time to have switched to AP. So like slow down, switch to AP, and just set it on to death. Because the Dallas hasn't really fully accelerated here. But that's also alright. I mean, just leaving the task for the Synop, I guess. But could have probably just slowed down and loaded AP and finished that Dallas, actually. That would have been an easy kill, I think. Okay. Here comes the torpedoes. I think this is where this turn would have been necessary. Instead of turning in, like just turn out, actually. Yep, because you see how Raptor keeps doing this turn? This turn, this is little details, eh? This is going to be the little details that end up changing the game. This extra turn, it doesn't look like much. It's an extra little turn, but it's time. It's just extra time spent not setting up for something else or not heading towards an objective of some kind. These little decisions that typically get made at the time when you do them, they seem very, very sort of harmless, but in the long run, you'll see they end up adding up. So had he done this, like, you know, had he done the initial other turn, he would have actually been better positioned, I think. Like, but here you can see it's going to take him a bit longer to get into position. Still seems pretty harmless, right? Still seems pretty harmless. If had he turned that way, he would have been very easy to get himself into this position. Would have saved quite a bit of time. Probably would have been able to maybe start engaging this Bayern even a little bit earlier, because he probably could have started engaging the Bayern while the Bayern was still back there, right? Because he would have been closer to this island and had vision already. Still, Bayern, I don't understand the Battleship players sometimes that, you know, like, you're in trouble already. There's a whole bunch of things that are happening to you. You're mispositioned, there's huge DPM, and you're just stopping? It doesn't really make too much sense. Probably should have been, like, maybe try to even maneuver hell in this kind of situation. Like, just aggressively maneuver, try to get yourself to dodge as many of these shells as possible. Sitting still like this just makes you a very, very easy HE farm target. Just very, very easy. Okay, there we go. Kraken unleashed. That battleship is dead. Engaging the Omaha now. Really, the Sinop probably needs to be heading this way. The New York, honestly, should be heading this way as well. Both these two BBs. Like, they should be going for this cap right now. Because you're having a situation where, you know... No, I mean, if the New York stays behind because he's too slow, that's understandable too. But as a New York, I guess I would just push in this way, maybe? I don't know, try to position that way instead. Not really sure why the New York is trying to turn away. That also doesn't really make too much sense in this kind of situation. Sinop, yep, is doing the smart thing, trying to make a beeline towards the sea cap. Trying to take that back. Raptor's in a pretty good position, able to shell the Omaha, able to get shells in on this New York as well. There we go. Omaha's dead to the Ranger. Okay, this is fine. Getting the monster DPM onto a New York. Yep, getting the monster DPM onto the New York here. I think in this kind of situation, I would have just pushed forward. Oh, no, well, can't draw there, but I would have pushed forward, got him behind that island, and continued to bring this DPM onto this New York, try to kill him as quickly as possible. Yeah, and then I guess once that's done, you know, probably continue to head towards maybe the sea cap, try to help out the Sinop, or turn up and try to engage whatever else might be coming that way. Shores looks like it's gonna come this way though. The Shores looks like it's gonna head south into that mid area. We'll see. Raptor moves in, engages the New York. New York is still not shooting at him. It's kind of amazing. But here's where I think a bit of a mistake gets made here. You'll see that the Shores gets a salvo off, and there we go. Raptor finally sees the Shores for the first time and turns. And then here's the engagement. I think this is where the mistake might have been made, and this mistake is going to be costly. 15,000 HP to start this engagement. Okay. And the Shores is basically broadside at like 5 kilometers. I think this might have been a time to switch over to AP and really aim for that waterline area and try to murder the Shores quickly. If not, at least try to bring more of the HE DPM online. Because you'll see what ends up happening here is that Raptor only gets about the forward 3 turrets and the 1 wing turret onto this Shores. And in the course of that engagement, burns through a lot of HP because, yeah. And then, of course, here, after taking care of it, and this is it, Shores is taken care of. The New York is already heading this direction. You can see by the last known position. The Ochotnik, don't worry about it. The CV looks like it's about to take care of the Ochotnik. This is where, if I was Raptor, I would have gone this way. I would have just kept going in a, you know, the fastest way is that way, right? Don't have to turn my ship around, don't have to do anything, just accelerate forward and then just come out and then murder this New York. New York is pretty low, 4,000 HP. That's not going to take too long. Okay, New York is starting to heal, but even healing, against an Atlanta's combined DPM plus possible fire, as well as support from the CV, this New York really shouldn't live very long. But this is where I think the biggest mistake was made, because you'll see what happens. 4,000 HP here, takes the rocket strike, is on fire, doesn't have a DCP for the full duration of that fire. Yeah, and and after killing this New York by reversing, because eventually he's gonna get some shells in on this New York, it's just gonna take so long to get himself back towards the cap. I mean, if he had just gone forward, taking care of that New York, let's say, then straight onto the cap, would have had, I think, enough time to actually take that cap point, and might have actually, bought his team enough time to win this game. It's really, this is all like a matter of seconds or, small minor decisions. I think it's going to add up here. Raptor does kill the New York successfully. Sinop is down to 6,900 on Raptor's team. That Sinop is basically one torpedo strike away for Ryujo. This is what I'm saying. If Raptor had gone forward right now, there'd be two caps being capped right now, not just one. The C cap would be getting taken, and the B cap would have been getting taken. So the Ryujo would have had to decide which of the two ships it wanted to attack. It couldn't just focus on one at a time, right? And that might have bought the ships a little bit more time, I think, in this situation. But it's you see how long it took to finally get around to here, right? It's taking way too long. Where now the enemy CV knows it's just a Sinop here, it's just a ship here. Yeah, I just think that time was not done too well. The CV positioning cannot be here. Like, there's no way. I think Raptor misidentifies where the CV was, because in the initial part of the game, you can kind of tell where the CV was, right? The CV initially started off on the far side because the planes were all in this direction. But the CV probably moved in this direction because he eventually saw airplanes coming from here. But obviously the CV saw a push coming from Raptor's team, so there's a very high chance the CV turned back around and started heading in that direction. So the most reasonable place right now for the CV is actually probably around here. That's actually where the most reasonable place for that CV is. Anyway, the Sinop is dead. See how long it's taken Raptor to get back onto this cap? I think he could have saved a couple minutes here. And if their team had 3 caps, if the team had 3 caps, even if they lost all the ships, with 3 caps, I think this might have still been winnable. Yeah, little decisions I think here would have made a huge amount of difference. But it's just those little ones, right? Like the sort of not bring all the guns to bear against their shores, not using AP to go for the citadels, just letting the enemy ships have that extra little bit of time to live, that extra little bit of time to gain extra points. I think that makes all the difference here. And of course, right now with only 570 HP and a Ryujo squadron that's coming in, this is pretty much over already, because Ryujo's gonna get in here, get one good rocket strike, and that is the end for Raptor. Still a very good game, 7 kills, 160k damage, Kraken, high caliber, Confederate. Still very, very good game, but I think these small micro decisions, I think, were what resulted in the loss as a whole. Let's take a look at the results screen and see how Raptor did. So there we go, 806,000 credits earned, which is really good, 6,191 experience, 3 really good awards, 159,894 damage, sunk 7 ships. So really, Raptor did work. It's just his team kind of let him down for sure, and just maybe those small little decisions, I think, at the end might have been enough to contribute to the loss. All right, and let's take a look at the base experience here. Look at that number. Number 1, even on the losing team. Absolutely phenomenal game, regardless. And I would say, Raptor, if you watch this video, just start maybe in the future, think about those little things a little bit more and see if that can help you maybe push up your gameplay just to elevate it a little bit more. Anyways, folks, let me know your comments about this match in the comment section below. Aside from all that, take care, have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll talk to all of you again next time.